Yes. No, I haven't. Okay, bye. You go with Evergreen. Go with Evergreen. Bye. Jerry.
Yeah.
Okay. We're still. I've had to get back with you because I can't. She's not picking up on her Comrec side.
Okay. Well, I heard you say rolling evergreen. I suggest we probably just go with that today, or unless you guys want to, if get it resolved, mid show or something.
Yeah, well,
That's.
we will try. I'm going to try one more time and see what's going on. I'm going to disconnect from you because this is definitely her show.
Mm-hmm.
So give me a sec.
Okay.
Well, now I can't even get with you. I'm blocked. Everything's black. So we're gonna have to go with Evergreen here.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
Thanks.
Bye. Hey. She is? Okay. Well, I can't get to Jerry now.
I'm here.
Okay, hold on. No, I think I've got him. Hold on for a sec.
Okay.
Debbie, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Jerry, you there?
Okay. Can we start or no?
We are in Evergreen world right now, so give me a sec. Let me see if I can reconnect with Jerry.
I'm here on everything, actually. Okay. Skype and everything.
All right.
St. Michael the Archangel, St. Teresa of Calcutta, Mother Angelica, Our Lady of Fatima, Padre Pio, pray for us and all our listeners. It's Satan.
Yeah.
Okay, he's turning it back on. Okay.
We're ready to go when you are.
I'm ready.
I hear you.
All right, y'all ready to go in?
What do we do? You lead, Jerry.
Okay.
Well, Jeff, how do we start?
We're going to go into I'm going to get them to go into the break. Once the break is there, then we'll go into the show. So hold on for a second.
Okay.
Are you on Skype, Jerry?
Not yet.
Okay. Jerry, it was Satan. Totally. He doesn't want this being told.
Yeah, could be.
Okay, can you tell me when we're going to the break there? And once we come to the break, we're going to come out and go right back to them. Just listen, 10 minutes after.
Actually, why don't they just play a music bed and transition into us?
Exactly.
Jeff?
Yeah, don't go into the break because it's going to confuse everybody. We're already getting calls.
Well, plus that's 10 minutes into the show,
I know it.
Can you just fade that out and play a little bumper music and then bring us up?
Don't swap
me.
He's talking to someone else. I see you on Skype. Are you not on Skype?
I don't think I'm connected. No,
it shows you're connected.
Let's see, on. Join call.
Okay, what I want you to do is we're gonna play audio here. We're gonna play the break out of this one, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and start playing the music for the break. I want you to just to take over here when I tell you to, okay? I know it. Okay, I want you to go ahead and swap over. Tell me when you do it.
Father Wade Menezes.
The Father himself gauges his Son, capital G, as the most perfect one to act in his stead, he whom the Father himself sent into the world.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
Have you heard of Amazon Echo? It's a virtual personal assistant that allows you to use just your voice. You can listen to EWTN Radio just by saying, Alexa, play EWTN Radio. Check out the Amazon Echo today.
It's time for Family Man with Dr. Gregory Popchak.
Want better behaved kids? Here's a simple tip to instantly correct almost any inappropriate behavior. Instead of lecturing or wasting time developing increasingly strict or creative punishments, use do-overs to help your child learn to speak and act more appropriately on the spot. For instance, if your child speaks disrespectfully, insist they choose better words and a better tone and make them say it again until they express themselves well. Another example, if your child does a chore sloppily, require them to start over from the beginning, as many times as necessary, until they can demonstrate they know how to do the chore to your expectations. You don't need to yell. Let the do-over do the talking for you. And when they succeed, remember to compliment their effort. Good discipline teaches kids what to do, instead of just telling them what not to do. For more tips to make parenting easier, check out Parenting with Grace. I'm Dr. Greg Popchak, but you can call me Family Man.
To discover more ways faith can enrich your life, visit CatholicCounselors.com.
Okay, we are here. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. We had a little pause there for a little bit to make sure we were connected properly, but I don't believe there was any accident to that. And we're going to share, this is a very important topic we are covering today on Take Two. It really hits home with me in a very personal way for the past almost 11 years. And so we're prepared to share it and have a real conversation about it. Jerry, today is World Parental Alienation Awareness Day, April 25th. All over the world, they are having bubbles of joy, meaning that because to raise awareness about parental alienation, but the bubbles of joy represent families and happiness and hope and a future of families that have been torn apart by parental alienation. And that's what we're talking about today on Take Two. So with the little computer glitch, Jerry, I don't believe it was an accident. I believe in my heart it was Satan trying to derail the show today because he does not want to raise awareness.
Yeah, obviously the attack on the family is great and getting worse all the time, and so I'm glad that you wanted to talk about this. And Debbie, I know you're going to share your own painful personal experience, but we want to invite those of you listening to call in right now, 833-288-3986. If you have experienced parental alienation, Debbie's going to explain more what that is, because it's kind of, Debbie, is it kind of a new concept, or at least when people hear that, they're going, okay, what exactly is that?
Right. Well, they kind of developed it, Jerry, in the 1980s, and then in the mid 90s, it took shape in a lot of psychological journals and stuff like that. And what basically it is, it's the direct attempt to break the bond of one parent by another parent. And so it can happen in intact families as well, but mostly it arises out of divorce. So I think everyone knows on our Take Two family that I was divorced in 2007. And I was blindsided. I was super close to my two boys, to the point where I used to show up. I was a youth minister, Jerry, and I used to show up on campus all the time. And what teenage son do you know would run up and hug and kiss their mom? But my son did. And he was really proud of his mom. And we were very, very close. I was very close to both my sons. And after the divorce, my former husband decided and intentionally decided to break the bonds that my children had with me. And he did it very methodically, very diabolically. I'm not speaking badly about him. These are facts. I wrote a manuscript about it. And actually, it could turn out to be a very unfortunate but very interesting movie, because it's all true. I couldn't make up these things. But there is such a stigma around parental alienation, Jerry, because it actually was misused for many years in the court systems for custody cases. So guess what happens, Jerry, when folks find out that you're not talking to your children or your grandchildren for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, like I have been, they automatically think you were mommy dearest. they think something must have gone wrong in the house and you were a really bad parent and your kids ran from you. And it's not true. It's a horrible, horrible thing. And that's why millions, tens of millions of families are affected by this. And they go silent because they are scared to come out because they don't know what people's reaction, the cartoon bubble over people's heads are. Thank God, Jerry, I was strong in my faith. Thank God I had great experts around me that kept reminding me I was the better parent. And so that kept me alive. But a lot of people, they emotionally they fall dead because it's like cutting off an appendage, Jerry, when you cannot be in contact with your children that you love, that you would die for. And it's very, very painful. So the Parental Alienation Awareness Day is a very hard day for me, but it's also a hopeful day, Jerry, because the more people that know about it, then we can change it and we can help build the family instead of continue to break down the families.
Well, if what Debbie is sharing, and it's coming from deep within her, I can assure you folks, I've known Debbie a long time, and this has been a source of pain, but like she said, there is hope for the future, and Debbie, you've got grandkids on the way and stuff, so I know that you want to see those relationships restored. But for anyone who's listening, if this resonates within your heart, maybe you've experienced this in your own life, you have been the victim of parental alienation, or just want to know a little bit more about it, or what it is and what we can do about it, please join us. Phone lines are open. We are live right now on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. It is 833-288-3986, 833-288-3986. You can also text the letters EWTN to 55000. There might be a small data rate there, and you can watch us on YouTube and Facebook. Debbie, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I've never had kids, so I can't relate to this, but I'm wondering, as a parent, we always say on the show, one of the worst and most tragic things a parent could do would be to have to bury a child, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if, in a way, and I don't mean this insensitively at all. Yeah, I don't mean to be insensitive at all, but in a way, is this worse just because you know they're still alive and they may live down the street, but you have no contact with them? Is that?
You're absolutely right on. According to a lot of the experts in the field, it is so incredibly painful. You can't describe it because they say that you cannot even imagine the pain that a parent feels when they bury a child, but they still it is closure. They have to have that closure, okay? And they bury the child, but they know that they're going to see that child again. They know that child is in the arms of Jesus. That child, fulfilled its purpose and mission on this earth. And so there can be a sense of healing. The problem with this, Jerry, with parental alienation is exactly what you just said. It's like a Band-Aid that keeps getting ripped off, and you can't heal it because they're right down the street. You can't fix it. It's an ongoing grief process that is sometimes totally unbearable. I can't even explain it. And many people in my situation don't make it because they don't have the resources. They don't have the support system. Sometimes they don't have a strong faith and they don't make it. They turn to drugs. They turn to alcohol. They try to do really bad behaviors just to try to relieve some of the pain that they're in. So yes, I would never want to equate it to burying a child, but it is so incredibly difficult because you can't fix it. You can't have closure. You can't make it right. And that in a parent's mind is maddening because that's all what parents do is they fix it and they can't fix this. So yes, it's really a bad situation. One thing I just want to share real quickly, Jerry, last time we did this show, I believe it was last year, right around the same time, I was overwhelmed with emails of folks, different people's stories of their own parental alienation. And this goes to grandparents, aunts, uncles. This goes to extended families as well. And even being estranged from your grandchildren, stuff like that. If you want to send us a story, Jerry and I read the emails. Okay, you can send it to take2, the number 2 at EWTN.com. Please be assured that we will read the emails. But just because it's so overwhelming and it hits me so hard in the heart, I'm just going to send back a general email. And I'll protect everybody's email addresses. No email addresses will be exposed. Everything will stay private. But I need to do that because it's very hard, Jerry, when it's like reliving it over and over and over again. You were a child of divorce, Jerry, and sometimes even subtly, there is parental alienation happening just by way of the divorce itself. You know, you have to go visit your dad or your mom, and you go back and forth. And I don't know if did you experience any of that growing up?
Yeah, we longed to see our dad. We didn't have a lot of contact with him. I don't recall any particular dynamics of attempts at alienation. I don't think my mother would have done that, and I think my dad was just carried the ball and chain of the guilt and shame, and they probably both did. But my dad just kind of backed away from our lives, So I don't think there was any pressure or any intentional acts on the part of my mom to do that. But definitely, we had very little, if any, contact with him.
Wow. So yeah, how has that affected you in your adult life? I'm just curious because my sons are now adults.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I've shared on the show before and publicly when I speak, Debbie, and you know this, it's taken me all of my life to, break down barriers in my relationship with God the Father, for example. It definitely impacted me and how I viewed myself, my ability to love myself and to see my own worth and dignity, because I think I bore the guilt of that to a great extent too, and I've had to overcome a lot of that. So, yeah, there's just a lot of, as I say, I love the wreckage that is me, and we're all sort of a pile of wreckage, just trying to put all the pieces back together. And with God's grace, we can do that.
Right, exactly. So I'm assuming that since we had that little glitch, we took the break already. So can we go straight to the calls? Would that be okay, Jerry?
Sure. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. So we want to hear from you. Let's hear your story. We're going to take a little bit more time with the calls today because this is a very, very deep subject, and we want to do it justice. So the number to dial is 833-288-3986. And feel free to ask Jerry questions about growing up as a child of divorce, and you can ask me as well. I have nothing to hide. First of all, everything's out there anyway in a public forum, because when you go to court, it's all out there anyway. So it's really something that needs to be shared so we can build awareness. Okay, Tom, you are first up in Kingwood, Texas. Tom, thank you so much, and welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's kind of crazy. My wife texted me and said, "Hey, you need to call this show." And I was like, "Well, I don't even know what they're talking about." She's like, "They're talking about you," which is absolutely Holy Spirit taking over. But it's funny growing up. You talk about divorce. I'm the other side of the coin. I'm the family that had a father that was an alcoholic, cheated on my mom. My mom hung with him. My mom was the religious side of the family. He wasn't. But she was the epitome of an enabler. She stuck by his side with everything, even at he's passed, but even through his death. But my father growing up, he never hit any of us, but his verbal abuse was, it was huge. He was a Navy guy. He was a police officer for 30 plus years. And, we owned a bar. So he would be a police officer in the morning, and then at night he would go and he would run this bar, and, life of the party type of thing, because he's an alcoholic owning a bar. What do you expect? But, at this time I was probably third, fourth, fifth grade, something like that. And I grew up in a bar, and, he was a practical joker. And, some of his jokes were, "Hey, Tommy, come have this little glass of Coca-Cola right here." And it was actually whiskey, and all his friends would laugh and things like that. And I have two brothers and a sister, and, the verbal abuse from them was just the same as me, but I was the last one left in the house because I was the youngest of four. And, it continued through high school all the way up to when I graduated high school. I hated him. I wanted out, so I left, went away to school, and then finally moved. I'm from up north, so I finally moved down here to Texas, and, kind of caught in the same patterns he got in. I started drinking, became an alcoholic, and, and I was an alcoholic for a good solid 15 years probably, and got married about almost 19 years ago. And throughout my marriage, alcoholic for the first more than half of my marriage. And then finally, because of my wife, excuse me, and because of God, it just turned around. I mean, she hung by my side, and she was with me through all the struggles that we went through. But the great news, been sober for a few years now, and I mean, I grew up cradle Catholic, always went to school or always went to church, but never ever got anything out of it until going on some missions, what we call an Acts retreat, things like that, and it changed my life. I mean, I really felt the Holy Spirit for the first time at one of those, and this has been a few years now, and now I'm deeply rooted in it. I help put on those retreats. I go to the prison and minister to prisoners in Huntsville, and really my part of my faith journey is breaking the bond of my father to where, breaking the mold to where I have 3 kids, and I vowed that I would never be the father that he was. So, yeah.
Well, Tom, you've shared so much beautiful, powerful stuff here. I'm just moved by what you're sharing, and so is Debbie, and I can relate to so much of it. My father was an alcoholic as well, and my parents divorced. We stayed with our mom. That was kind of the thing back then. Dads rarely ever got the kids. I guess the courts felt like, they needed mom more than dad or whatever. But when I hit 18, man, I was out of that house as fast as I could as well. So I'm relating so much to what you're saying here. But the beautiful thing that you have shared, that Debbie, I know so many people are going to get hope from today, is like Tom, you said, you broke that cycle. You made that determination that you were not going to be your dad. And Debbie, I think, a lot of us go on to be one or the other of our parents, maybe not in such a positive way. This can also work, in this way that it did with Tom. It gave him that resolve to say, you know what, I am not going to repeat what in this case, his father did. So I think that's a great testimony to your strength, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. And a testimony to your mom's faith and your wife's faith as well. And Tom, let me share something with you. In your situation, I'm so sorry you had to go through that as a child. But like Jerry said, the strength you had to break that cycle was huge. But you came to that realization and that understanding yourself, which unfortunately, Tom, your situation gets lumped into parental alienation all the time. And they're two separate animals, if you will. And in your situation, you had to distance yourself. You had to make changes. You had to protect yourself. You had to preserve yourself because your father was not in a place to be able to do those things for you because he was dealing with his own issues himself. So in your situation, it was for self-preservation. In the situation that we're talking about today, it's actually a very diabolical attempt to brainwash the children to break those bonds when they don't need to be broken. So in your case, it definitely merits that. And that's been the problem with parental alienation all along. The two different types of styles of that are being put together. So you see where we're trying to raise awareness on the other side of this, on the ones that are being brainwashed, which is really detrimental to the children. What do you think about what we're talking about?
I mean, I think it's huge, and it makes me sick that any parents would do that, quite honestly, and at some point they're going to have to deal with all their sins that they're bringing to this whole situation. But, I love the fact that you're bringing attention to it. And you're right. I had to do it for my own rebirth, I guess you can say. But it's right. Something that, it breaks my heart for those kids, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know what they go through.
Yeah. And Tom, here's the thing. Where you're at right now is a beautiful place. You're beginning your life in your spiritual life. It's so huge where you're at. You talk about a rebirth. Oh, totally a rebirth in everything. And so our prayers are with you and your beautiful wife, and that God has great things in store for you. Look how you're ministering and doing everything you can do to continue to help others. Tom, more power to you. I think you're a strong man. I'm so grateful to your wife that she said, just pick up the phone and dial. Right. You know what? I think that's awesome. That's what marriage is all about. And you trusted your wife and you did it. And look, you're helping souls today. So thank you for that.
Thanks for the call, Tom. Appreciate that. Boy, we got a lot of you to get to, Joe and Cindy and Jacqueline and Ruth. And like Debbie said, we'll maybe take a little bit more time with some of the calls today. You all get the Virtual Patience Award today. How's that? You all receive a trophy, a virtual trophy for that. But by the way, Debbie, Tom's kids and his wife, they're all witnessing this too. And this is going to have, I think, very beneficial ramifications in their lives, especially the kids as they grow up, as well and become adults. So.
Well, and what Tom said was so important. You can break this chain. You can break the cycle. That's important. We don't have to keep doing what we know to be the thing that we just are used to. If it's not beneficial to us, break it, change it. And you can do that with parental alienation. You can do it with all sorts of things. You can switch gears. You can do a 180 and totally change direction. So it's an important topic we're having. We're talking about parental alienation today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Please call in. We'll be right back.
Jumpstart your faith. Now coming to a parish conference or retreat near you, world-renowned Catholic radio host Jerry Usher.
If we're going to be authentic men of God, leaders in our families, churches, and communities, we have to be healed of the wounds and the traumas that underlie our sins, our anxieties, our shame.
Invite Jerry Usher today. Contact thirdmillenniummedia.com.
The Reason for Our Hope with Father Larry Richards.
Once someone's died, you remember explicitly what that person said to you. Now, so we go back and we start off with King David. Now, King David is a good man to begin with because King David, the word David means beloved of God. God says of David, he is a man after my own heart. But you all know David, right? He was a murderer. And yet God said he was a man after his own heart because David kept getting up and trying, repenting. We have the beautiful Psalms. God have mercy on me, coming from David, So he knew what it was to be a man. And so here's King David, and he takes his son Solomon. The last words of wisdom he gives him. 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 2. He says, I am going the way of all mankind. So, take courage and be a man.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
I come from the other side of the tracks, see? My uncle used to have slot machines. Put one nickel in and it's emptied. And I brought him home in a bag, and my mother looked at me. Where did you get all that money? I said, I won them. You didn't win them. He fixed the machine. I didn't care if he fixed the machine or not,
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
I'm Brian Patrick with Elizabeth Ficcicelli in tomorrow for Gloria Purvis and our Godly Counsel, Father Bjorn Lundberg. Morning Glory on EWTN Radio. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
God bless you. Thanks for listening to this Wednesday broadcast, which, by the way, repeats at midnight Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. So at noon and midnight, and a best of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie every Saturday at noon Eastern Time. And just to remind you again what Debbie said earlier, we're talking about, as you know, parental alienation. We're going to get back to your calls. But if you would like to share your experience, you can do so. Take2 at EWTN.com is the email address. And Debbie will reply, but as she said, it's just really too deep to go, thoroughly into each one of your personal situations. So she does have what would you say is in your response, Debbie, that people would receive?
Well, I share some resources and some elements of hope to reunite the family. Talking about grandparents that are estranged from their children, extended family members. Actually, emails are starting to come in right now, Jerry, about how it's affected aunts and uncles and grandparents. And I just share where they can go to hear stories of hope, to never lose hope, and to remember Matthew 19:26, with God all things are possible. To also bring up Romans 12:19, talking about don't take revenge. Let God handle it. And also, we heard the spot by Father Larry Richards talking about the Book of Kings 3:16, when King Solomon about the two women that came to him saying, which baby is mine? And the real mother said, no, don't cut the baby in half. And it's very important that we remember that the ultimate thing is the children to be protected and to be safe. And in my case, that's exactly what I did. Just in case anybody wants to know, I won every single court battle, every single one. I was the primary residential custodial parent. I did not lose custody of my children, nothing of that. There was no allegations of abuse that of course, he tried to raise stuff because he was trying to be dramatic, but nothing ever stuck. And, the bottom line was I knew my children needed to grow up and have a good life, even if it was without me. So anyway.
Okay. Let's go back to your phone calls here, 833-288-3986. Thank you all again for your patience. Joe is in Midland, Texas. We're going to go to Joe next, listening on Guadalupe Radio. Joe, welcome aboard to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hello, thank you for taking my call today. This topic that you're speaking on, I just got in the vehicle and I just caught a little bit of exactly what you're speaking of, and I believe it relates exactly to what we're going through right now. My fiance right now is currently dealing with her youngest child. She recently went through a divorce. And the father had filled the child up with bad thoughts and things about her, which is resulting in her inability to discipline the child. Where it also is affecting our relationship because I am in turn unable to talk to the child to guide him to discipline him. The father has actually been abusive in the relationship, and the child has kind of witnessed somewhat of it. Has cheated on the mother as well, and so we're just having a hard time being able to kind of be on the same level with the child and to guide him. And worst case scenario is that she's almost lost complete control, that we almost sent him back with the father. I understand that you can't actually dissect the problem. I would like for more resources to be able to get control of this, and we do ask for y'all's prayers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Joe, you can definitely be assured of our prayers. That's for sure. There are many organizations out there with experts in the field. I am not an expert. I'm just a victim of parental alienation, but I learned I had to educate myself rather quickly because it blindsided me. So Joe, there's many organizations out there. Like today, for instance, the PAAwarenessday.com. That's the awareness day that's happening right now, and there's resources there. There's Parental Alienation Awareness Organization. There's resources there. I believe it's called I Cannot Be Erased. I will check on that at the next break, Joe, and I can actually post some of those things. There's many organizations out there talking about you can't erase the family, and that's what the alienator tries to do. They try to erase the other family. Joe, here's the thing: find in Texas your specialists in the field on parental alienation. Interview them. Go to them. They are starting to catch up. The courts are starting to catch up. I just found out recently that in Mexico and Brazil, it's actually now a criminal offense to start to be an alienator, to do this to the family. But the courts here in the United States are slow about it because, like we just shared, it's been misused in the courts for custody cases and for real cases of abuse. So it's really a problem, and you have to separate the two. So go to specialists who are trained counselors in parental alienation. I would try to get the former husband there. You should go, the son should go, everybody should go, and keep at it and pray to Our Lady to protect that little boy. And please pray to his guardian angel to protect that little boy as well, because that's the casualty of the war. that little boy is the one who's going to suffer the most. And long-term studies are just coming out on what happens to these children who become adults. They have emotional and psychological situations and issues happening to them because it's not normal to break the bond with a parent that's a loving, caring, good parent. So Joe, I hope that helps you. Our prayers are with you. God bless you for wanting to step in and help. You're in an awkward position, and that's very understandable. My husband was in that same position, Marty, and it's a difficult place to be. Jerry, did you want to share something?
Well, I wanted to, Joe, thanks for the call. And you mentioned Our Lady, and what came to my mind was Mary, Undoer of Knots, Our Lady, Undoer of Knots. Joe, I've just learned about that devotion to our Blessed Mother in the last, since Pope Francis has brought her to our attention in the last year or so. And I have prayed to her, and she acts so quickly, Joe. I've had a couple things just in the last week. I've said, Mary, Undoer of Knots, please help me with this. Please be quick about it. And she's just come through beautifully. So this certainly not going to, clear itself up overnight, but think about our Blessed Mother. And of course, St. Joseph, St. Joseph, you call in as Joe here, and my middle name is Joseph. So let St. Joseph, the Holy Family, let the Holy Family perhaps help you unpack all of this. Thank you, Joe, for the call. Appreciate it. We're going to go to Cindy next, who is calling from Crystal Lake, Illinois. Cindy, thank you for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and thanks for your patience. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I just happened to turn on the radio and heard Debbie's story, and it sounds like a duplicate of what I've gone through with my two sons. I don't want to take a lot of time up. I want you to take other calls. I'm going to email you and find out, what other resources are at hand here in Illinois. I've been alienated from my sons for a number of years, since 2009, and thusly my grandchildren, 3 with one son and 2 with another. It is just sad. Jerry, it's like experiencing their death on a daily basis, because they're here, they're alive, the children are here, and your heart is breaking. You're longing to see them. I started going to Mass daily. I started that with Lent, and it's really helped me a lot. So like I said, I don't want to take a lot of time up, but I've been going through this alienation for a number of years, and it's taken its toll.
Yeah. Yeah, Cindy, I can totally relate. I mean, we are sisters in this for sure. Please email me, take2@EWTN.com. And Cindy, my heart breaks for you because I know what that feels like. I have seen on Facebook my grandchildren, so I get to appreciate them on Facebook. And I pray to their guardian angel. I ask my guardian angel to go to their guardian angel every single time, just to let them know that their grandmother cares about them and loves them. So I'm with you. So please email me. And this is a hard day, because Parental Alienation Awareness Day is a hard day for so many of us, but it's an important day. We've got to get the word out that so many families are dealing with this. And Cindy, I want to say something to you and to everybody else who's listening. Satan wants to destroy the marriage. But then what he does is he goes one step further and he destroys the bonds of the family members. And this is what Satan can do. And if people don't believe Satan's real, then I don't know where they're living, because he is ready to devour. And we need to stop it through prayer. Like Jerry said, Lady Undoer of Knots, stay faithful, take care of ourselves, and pray, protect us with prayer, especially to St. Michael the Archangel, to protect us, to protect our families, put that hedge of protection around our families. And we need to do that because there's so many of us. Cindy, we're one of tens of millions, unfortunately. So we can stop this with shows like this. And so my heart goes out to you. I'm sending you a virtual hug right now.
Thank you. You're right, Debbie, because, in the beginning you think you're the only one, and you're embarrassed and you're ashamed, because it's like Jerry said, it's a mommy dearest thing. And then friends come along that have known me since high school and college, and they'll reaffirm, no, you were a good mom, you're a good mother, but look at what this, and I always say the same thing, Debbie, this is what Satan is doing. He's taking a step further. He's destroying the family by any means he can. And, look what Hitler did. Look at the atrocities that were committed and how people turned their heads or just went along with that or ignorant to the fact that my goodness, people were being slaughtered. I mean, if a man can indoctrinate and brainwash adults, then look at these innocent children, like you said. They're being alienated from their grandparents who only want to love and care for them and raise them in faith and see the very best for them.
Well, Cindy, as Debbie said, she's sending you out a hug. We send our love to you and our prayers. And do email Debbie. She will happily get back to you. Take2@EWTN.com. Bless you, Cindy. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. And we can certainly feel the pain you're experiencing. God bless you. Doreen on Facebook, Debbie said, I was alienated from my kids after a divorce. It was exactly as Debbie says, as painful as burying a child with no closure. Miracle. Years later, God restored the relationships. So Doreen says, please hang in there, those who are in the middle of this. So Doreen, thank you for sharing that hopeful message. That is really helpful for us today. Okay, who do we have next?
That was huge.
Yeah.
Okay, Cindy. Okay, we talked to Cindy. Thank you. I just want to thank you again, Cindy, so very much. Ruth is up next in Traverse City, Michigan, listening on Baraga Radio. Ruth, thank you so much for waiting, and welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Oh, hi. Thanks so much for taking my call. I have a slightly different situation, but it's really great to hear that there are other people that are suffering with this. And I have 3 children, intact family. We live in the same home, a loving spouse. And my oldest daughter has been struggling for years with some mental issues, depression, anxiety. And I made a decision with my husband around the holidays to have her hospitalized. The end result being she was not hospitalized. And it was just a very confusing and I just horrific for all of us, because we tried to get her some help and then the hospital didn't come through for us on that. It was difficult for everyone in the family. She didn't get the help she needed, and then it turned out to just dissolve our family, it seemed. But the blame of this really fell on my lap. And so she's very unforgiving to me for that, making that decision. She's still struggling with both the depression and anxiety, but I feel like she's getting better now. But the thing is, I've been dealing with 5 months of the silent treatment, and she does speak with my husband, and, even in the same room, she'll come in and speak with him and completely ignore me. I'm a ghost in my own home, so it's been really difficult. I'd love to know what you think I can do. Take steps to help the situation.
Right. Well, Ruth, here's you see, I'm pleased that you called in, because this can happen in intact families as well. It's more subtle, but it can happen. And here's we're not experts in this, and we're not trained counselors or anything, but I will tell you there are trained experts out there that can help with this. You and your husband need to be of united in this. When Satan wants to divide the household, whether it's an intact or divorced family. A lot of people don't understand that. You can have a lot of the same elements of divorce right in an intact family, because people are having different ideas. They're starting to align with other members of the family. They're forming alliances and stuff like that. It's not good. It's not healthy. And eventually it's destructive. Get to the experts, Ruth. Just go. You can go online. I'm sure in Michigan there's plenty of actually there are a lot. Actually, there's a lot of trained professionals in Michigan. As a matter of fact, Michigan was one of the leaders of specialists coming out about parental alienation and what goes on with brainwashing in families and all that kind of stuff. So please do your research and get some outside help to really get your family back together and cohesive and united, because when you guys are together, that is when Satan can't devour it. When there's a crack in the foundation, he will find that crack. He will go in and he will just break up that foundation like you will not believe. It happened in my own 20-year marriage. It's devastating. Jerry?
Well, Ruth, I was just wondering, do you and your husband talk about this? I'm just curious. I don't know how much you can share on that, but if she's kind of gravitating more to him and ignoring you, I mean, is he conscious of this at all? And do you two kind of talk about maybe a strategy for helping to resolve that circumstance?
We do talk about it, but there's no strategy. I think that somehow the word has been, it's between she and I and not him. So I know that he's had conversations, you need to reconcile with your mom, but that's really the extent of it.
Okay, well, Debbie, you may or may not agree. I suspect you will, but you actually were just implying this, in fact, saying it explicitly. I think, Ruth, it has to be between you and your husband first. The fact, the two of you have to be on the same page and building, solidifying that relationship between the two of you. And when she sees that, Debbie, would you, am I right or wrong? If she sees that happening, then maybe she's going to be less inclined to ignore Ruth and, maybe favor her father in that way.
Yeah. One of the first things, you can read this in many books. You don't have to be an expert in the field to know this. Children will naturally try to divide parents. Think about it when you were a kid and you wanted something. You went to mom. If she didn't give it to you, you ran to dad. If he didn't give it to you, then you're stuck. You're not going to get it. But sometimes you'll get one parent that'll listen. Same thing happens when there's the flip side of that, when there's a problem happening or an issue that's unresolved. Ruth, please get on the same page with your husband. It's very important, and you two need to do this together. If you have a sacramental marriage, you're in it together. And that's the thing that we always forget when it comes to the sacrament of matrimony. We think that it's somehow, we're going to live our own independent lives and come together whenever we want to. No, the two shall become one. Ruth, I hope that helps. Prayers are with you. Keep us posted, please.
Okay, may I ask one more question?
Sure.
Just when you say be on the same page with your husband, can you clarify what that would look like for me? I feel like I am, but I don't. And we've been working with a marriage counselor, but I just wondered, what am I missing about that?
Well, just that both of you need to feel very confident in the direction that you're going. See, the thing about it is we can say to our spouse, hey, I agree with you, because to keep peace, but we may not really agree. We come to an understanding of the direction together. No different than when you form teams at work and you have to have a plan and a mission to execute some kind of strategy with the organization. Everybody has to be on the same page, talking the same talk. And that's all I think we're trying to say here, is that you don't want to, just to keep peace is not going to necessarily help the situation. Talking the same talk will help the situation. So I hope that clarifies it. Ruth, you feel free to email us if we need to talk about this more. That we're here to help you. Take 2 at EWTN.com.
Thank you, Ruth. Prayers with you indeed. Don't forget, folks, EWTN Radio Classics. You remember Mother Angelica, God rest her soul. So many of her beautiful presentations and talks are available in the EWTN archives, along with people like Patrick Madrid, the wonderful late great Father Benedict Groeschel, and more. And you will find them online at EWTNradio.net and also on the EWTN app. Okay, we're going to go across the Atlantic to the United Kingdom, the UK. Maria listening, speaking of the EWTN app. Hi, Maria. Welcome to Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie.
Oh, hello.
Thank you for calling.
Hello?
What is your what's your situation here, Maria?
Yes, my husband. I have 5 children, and 2 from my previous marriage and 3 from my current marriage. And my husband, he's on investigation for. He's been accused of having sexually abused my daughter, his stepdaughter. So he's been taken out of the house, and you have social workers involved, and he's not allowed to communicate either with me or with his own 3 children. So it's very hard because he's been a very good father to the other 3, to his own children, and I just ask for prayers really, because this has been going on for nearly 6 months, and they're very young, like. His eldest, our eldest child is 6, and then have one, he's 3, and the other one is a baby. So it's very hard. So I just want to ask for prayers.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I try to keep the marriage. I've been faithful. We're married in the church, even though he's not a Catholic. And So yeah.
Well, Maria, be assured of our prayers, okay? We will pray for your situation that it can get resolved. But here's the thing. Obviously, when there's certain accusations or allegations of abuse, the children must come first. The children's protection is the first and foremost thing that everyone should be and must be concerned about. Okay, so we will pray that your situation works out. The thing about your situation is, while it's going through this, and you said he was a good dad to the other children, okay, you continue to be the great mom that you are. That's the best that you can do. And you continue the forward movement of the family, because the family is there, and keep that family intact and do what you can do as the mom to keep that going. And prayers will be with you for the strength of that, because sometimes when things like this hit us, we get stuck, Jerry. We get crippled. We stop in our tracks, and then everything stops. You know, the family dinners and the family this stop, and that's not good. Keep going forward on that, and keep the family together as much as possible, with making more and more great new memories, because it's important for the children that they can experience the most normal childhood as possible. Would you agree with that, Jerry, coming from a divorced family?
Yeah. I mean, look what Jesus thought about the little ones, you know, and how much he wanted to protect them and make sure that their well-being was, you know, put first and foremost. So, Maria, we will definitely pray. Thank you for calling into the program. We're not going to get to all of you on the show. Please remember, take 2 at EWTN.com. Angela in Pensacola, listening also on the EWTN app. Angela, I apologize if you can share your situation in about 90 seconds. Debbie and I will have a couple seconds to comment on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
so go
I
ahead.
can.
Yeah, okay, please.
Oh, share now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. It's a very long story, but to make it short, 24 years of marriage and 5 kids. And turns out my ex-husband was doing things that I didn't know about. I don't know how. I'm an educated person. But he started with the verbal abuse, the mental abuse on my older son, alienated him, moved us away from all of our family and support, and began to focus on me. And to the point where I realized that his abuse I needed to stop it. So when he realized I wasn't responding anymore, he started on my children, because he knew that's where was my touching point, my heart. Mm-hmm. And long story short, my 2 older daughters now don't speak to me. They're freshmen in high school, a freshman in college, and a senior in high school. I had to move away. That was the only way that I had to find a job to support myself. And they refuse to speak to me. They've been 2 years. The divorce was filed about a week ago. My 2 little ones still they still want to be with me, but the courts won't allow it because of the school system there. But, you know, I have to
Angela,
for the best thing for my children. Yes.
Yeah, forgive me. I'm so sorry to do that, but I think
it's okay. It's okay.
You've been able to share the gist of it, and we are getting short on the clock here. But Debbie, I know you invite Angela to email us, and
Absolutely,
and if you have
Angela,
maybe you have a thought or two here briefly that you want to share with her.
Yes, please, Angela, please email me. I'm going to share some resources and stuff that can help all of us. I just had a friend that just texted me and said the name of the organization is erasingfamily.org, erasingfamily.org. There's other places out there that just want to offer support. That's all they want to do for all of us going through it. Angela, there is hope. I can share stories with you of reunification, and it's really, that just keeps us all going. So please, folks, emails are coming in very fast and furiously, and so there's a lot of us in the same boat, and it's important that we pray together, hold each other up in prayer, pray to everybody's guardian angels so that everybody can stay strong through all of this. And we know the ultimate winner, you know, we know the ultimate prize, it's God, you know, so we have to stay focused on that. And Jerry, thank you for doing this show. This was an important one I think we tackled.
Well, Mark and Gigi and the other calls wish we could get to you. We heard it via email from Ron, Jeanette, Gary, Carol, Susan, Patty, Elizabeth, and you can email too. Take2 at EWTN.com. Debbie will get back to you. And Deb, we apparently have to do this show again sometime.
Absolutely. Tomorrow we're talking about detachment. Spring is in the air. Time to purge. Go through your closets. That's tomorrow. Until then,
Do I have
a beautiful. Yes. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day.